Duffield. I'm part of the tech support for today. So moving to the next slide, you probably know more about Zoom than you ever thought you would. So we're asking folks to stay on mute for this presentation, but please use the chat at any time to reflect and share and comment. Thank you, Christine. Nice to see you here. And we have a moderator who's checking if you have any questions, etc. My colleague Delphine Kwan is here under tech support if you want to send us a private message. But without any further ado, thank you for typing in where you're joining us from and your names. Pam Spisa, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you, Julie, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Pam Spiescher from the Region 15 Comprehensive Center, which is one of 19 federally funded regional comprehensive centers, and we provide capacity building, technical assistance, content expertise, and resources to state education agencies. The Region 15 Comprehensive Center collaborated with the Nevada Department of Education as thought partners on this project. I'm joined by my Region 15 Comprehensive Center colleagues, Rachel Lagunoff, Haiwen Chu, Ruth Sebastian, Julie Duffield, who you met just now, and Delphine Kwan. And we're here to support you and see the questions that you have and support our ND colleagues. It's really a pleasure for us to be here today. And now I'd like to introduce our presenters for today's webinar, Dr. Kulwadi Axtel and Dr. Sophia Misavage from the Nevada Department of Education. They are joined by teachers and state digital engineers Heidi Carr, literacy specialist from Kirk Adam Elementary School in Clark County School District, and Lisa Sill, secondary science teacher at Nevada Connections Academy, an online public charter school across Nevada. So over to you, Sophia and Kul.
Sophia, you just need to unmute.
Oh, yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for introducing all of us. We are really excited about this webinar. And the reason that we are is that these are general ELD practices that can be implemented by all teachers and then used for professional development. So as we walk through the documents and then this presentation, many of you are joining from a varied role, experiences, and positions. So just keep that in mind. So the one thing that we know is that the education of English learners is a shared responsibility of all educators, and that English learners must experience and have access to rigorous standards-based instruction. And so with that, I like to move to the next slide to really just briefly go over the purpose of the documents. So the document that you're going to review with us today is designed for all content teachers and other educators in using the ELD standards framework in lesson planning. And this is to enhance educators' understanding of best practices for English learners and for other diverse learners. So what you will hear today, although this is focused on English learners, these best practices are really the foundation for teaching language and content. And so they are beneficial for all students who are not yet proficient in the language. Next slide.
So we have a quick poll here. We'll push out the poll for you, Sophia.
Thank you so much. So we have done several of these webinars, and we are just curious around your engagement and whether you have joined any one of the webinars or participated in the ELD Standards Facilitator workshop that we had about a year ago. So please let us know. Okay.
We've had about half the folks who responded. If the poll is not working, feel free to use the chat instead.
Okay, oh my gosh, so wonderful to know that many of you attended the introduction webinar that we had. And it's really wonderful to see that people have really explored the ELD standards framework online. So thank you so much for all of you for joining us in this webinar. So next slide, please.
We'll close the polls. Thank you.
So in this next webinar, just a reminder of what the ELD standards framework or frameworks are. So as you look at this slide, the larger bubble is really the ELD standards framework, which are those general practices that we'll talk about today. In addition to that, we have frameworks that connect the ELD standards framework for ELA, the instructional guidance, it's the social studies, the math, and also the science. So we have about 18 of these documents. And in addition to the 18, there is the other content area ELD standards framework, and that's what we're going to review today. Next slide, please. You may recall that the slide that you see right now is really an image of the cover page and also the content instructional guidance document. Just a refresher that in section 1 of the document, we included the purpose for the document and the key uses of academic language. In the second section of the document, which is on the right side, as you can see, we talk about the student moves, the language expectations, and those are similar to the can-do descriptors, but they are tailored to each of the content areas, which are the language demonstrations that students can do across the proficiency across the proficiency levels. And this is not a comprehensive list of the student moves or what students can do with language. In addition to this, just to recap the ELD standards framework and the supporting instructional guidance documents, we talk about the teacher moves. That's section 3. We look at, that's